Okay, so the other day, my friend Brandon messaged me saying that he was doing a photo shoot for a new line of clothing that he designed, and basically he wanted a video to go along with the photo shoot, and was wondering if I could come and just take a quick video. And basically he just wanted a 20-second promo for these 2 new pieces of clothing that he designed. And yeah, so it sounded really cool, so I went down and did it.
Hey, I'm out to throw a wild card at you. You know I'm gonna have to throw a wild card. Cause lately I've been thinking about you. Yeah, stuck on you like glue.
We had 2 models on the day. First we shot with Davina, who you've seen in another video on this channel, and then we shot with Sean, and we had an hour with each of them to get everything we needed to get with the photos and the video. So yeah, really quick shoot, but really fun at the same time. So yeah, pretty much in this YouTube video, I just want to go through a couple things that I did to make this promo a little bit more creative, a little more unique, so that I can stand out a little more. And these are things you can do with pretty much any camera, and I was shooting with no other equipment, so yeah, basically all you need is your camera, and any camera, to be honest, just your camera. So number 1, it's breaking the shutter speed rule. So Brandon had mentioned to me that he wanted to go for some sort of Wildcard Y style video for this promo, just like getting those Wildcard Y vibes in the video. And when he mentioned that, I immediately thought of Chungking Express and the motion blur effect that Wildcard Y used in that film. So in order to replicate that, all I did was reduce the shutter speed to around 1/5, and then basically just make sure that everything is exposed properly. I think in the actual movie, he reduced the frame rate instead of the shutter speed, but my camera doesn't have the ability to reduce the frame rate, so instead of doing that, I reduced the shutter speed, and it has a really similar effect. Also, when I'm recording with these settings, I move the camera a little more than I usually would, and the reason I do that is just to emphasize the movement a little more, because if I didn't do that, I feel like maybe the video would kind of look like I made a mistake with the shutter speed, and it just would give the vibe that I don't really know what I'm doing. So basically, in order to sell this effect properly, it's better to go all the way, move the camera a little more, get some more motion blur. The movement just emphasizes the effect even more, because the more movement you have, the more motion blur you're gonna see in the video. I only took like 2 shots with these settings per model, just because I think it's important not to overuse this. I like it because it's really unexpected and it kind of fits in with the rest of the video, kind of contrasts the other more still shots that we see throughout the video, while also giving us that street, almost grungy vibe that we were trying to go for as well. It also makes the video feel a little bit more dynamic because it gives the impression of fast movement. But if you're planning to implement this into your own project, it's important to think about what effect it will have on the overall story of your film, on the overall vibe that you want to convey. For example, this may not work as well in some sort of wedding or romantic film, but maybe it would. Maybe there's a way you could use it where it does work out really well. It just depends on how you implement it into your film. The important thing is to just have a motivation behind your effect. And in the case of this video, it's just to create a more dynamic promo, give a sort of street, grungy vibe to it, and just give a nice contrast between these shots and the more static shots that we're more used to seeing. Okay, so number 2, the second thing that I did to try to spice this video up was a dolly zoom. The original way that you do a dolly zoom traditionally is to have a camera on a dolly, it goes forward or backwards, and then you zoom in or out the opposite way that the camera is dollying. So for example, if you dolly forward, you would be zooming out at the same time. I think it got really famous when they use it in Jaws. It's a really famous scene, but yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like. But yeah, my lens doesn't zoom, it's a 50mm prime, so I'm gonna have to do it digitally, and luckily there's a really easy way of doing this in post-production. So all I did was simply take a video and walk forwards towards my subject, and then in Premiere I added a keyframe starting at 105 and then gradually reduced it to 100, and basically that created the dolly zoom. So that's how you do a regular dolly zoom, but it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like it was exactly what I wanted, so I got rid of the dolly zoom and then restarted. First I added a speed ramp to the video so we could transition nicely from the previous shot with the Vina, which also has a speed ramp. A speed ramp is where you change the speed of the video, so it either speeds up or slows down smoothly. They're very useful for transitioning between different shots, which is why I wanted to add a speed ramp to transition from the shot of the Vina to the shot of Sean. So after the speed ramp was set, I again added those scale keyframes to create the dolly zoom, but something was off, something was a little jerky. So to start, I tried to add an easy ease on the second keyframe just to try to make it match with the speed ramp, but that also didn't work. It still looked really jerky. But then I just nested the clip and added a warp stabilizer onto the clip, and Premiere worked its magic, and it worked really well. I really like how this turned out. It's a little different from exactly what a dolly zoom would look like, but I still think it gives a really cool effect. It kind of makes the trees look like they're moving above his head as he's standing there. So traditionally, in Hollywood movies, Dolly Zoom is usually used to show how a character is feeling. In Jaws, that example that I was talking about before is because that character was feeling very shocked. But in this case, I just used it because I really like the aesthetic behind it. There's no real like deep meaning, but I just think it looked really cool in this scenario. Okay, real quick, number 3, the last thing I want to touch on is just in the editing room, all you're doing is adding certain overlays or graphics on top of your footage. At the beginning of the film, I added in 3 overlays, a dust and scratch overlay, a flash, and also a film leaders overlay. You can easily find these on places like YouTube or Storyblocks or Videvo. Videvo is one of my favorite because everything's like really cheap or really free or free. So not only does this give like a nice aesthetic, which I kind of like, just like that old feel to the video, but also creates a nice contrast with the later shots that come later in the video. It also sets the mood and the tone of the entire film, and I feel like it works really well with the text that's overlaid on top of it. Lastly, that initial shot where everything started with Davina having some iced tea was actually in a cafe called Mito Cafe, which is a really old Hong Kong style cafe, which kind of also motivates the use of these overlays, just kind of like makes it work really well. But anyways, I think the most important part and the reason why I use this the most, like the biggest reason why I wanted to use these overlays, was because it sets a tone. It kind of just gives the expectation to the audience that this is going to be a nice, slow, relaxing video. Like you wouldn't expect a video with this kind of overlay to be kind of like crazy or really hyped. It's just like something out of the blue that you're not really expecting. And in my opinion, when something is unexpected, as long as it's executed well, and I hope this is executed well, but it can make the video feel really unique and just give it that hint of like originality to it, which can go a long way in making your video stand out. But yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Also, check out Azaleas, which is an Instagram page which features all of these really cool designs. Go follow them, go give them some love, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.